Welcome to the most forward-thinking, inspirational podcast in this reality. The show designed to challenge everything we've been taught. If you've ever felt there had to be more to life, more to existence, then you're listening to the right podcast. Time to open your mind and dive in. This is the Mental Mastery Alliance podcast.
And here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Mental Mastery Alliance podcast. Today I want to talk a little bit about fear. Or what was the other one? Anger. So in this realm, a lot of people have called me a conspiracy theorist. But in this realm, in this ideology-bent wonderscape that we call Earth Realm, there are so many fascinating factors that take place. I observe so much. I observe people fighting. I observed the ability to make comments. I ran into a bot on social media and I was talking to my girlfriend and she had said, look at this lady attack me. The bot then went on to rip her a new one and tried to destroy her character in the thread that they were in, and then went on to her other posts, sort of basically went back to her profile and taunted her on other things on her profile. And I said, this is a bot. This is designed for you to understand and comprehend from. It's not a real person. And the conversation went from there to being like, no, I know these people. There's people that know who this person is. And the math behind that is simple as well. There are people who are walking around in the same meat suit that you're wearing, who are bots, who are programmed to be a certain way. And we have this ideology inside of our minds that everything, we have this idea that there's a baseline or a generic truth that must apply to everything. And I don't think that that's actually accurate or true. I don't think that that's the way it is. We were talking also about robot birds. And the idea of a robot bird is, how could there be, we've all heard we haven't all heard it, but most of us have heard the theory that, pigeons are spies, spy drones honing in on us. And we say to ourselves, impossible. I've seen a dead pigeon. I've seen the blood and guts and bones. And so we say to ourselves, it's impossible for that to be a robot. But that's only because we have this firm belief that robots are like the most advanced robots in the world are still just the Terminator, right? Arnold Schwarzenegger. But we don't know. And again, there's no proof that we ourselves aren't robots. We've got bones in ourselves, but all of our fundamental ideology is indicative of, if this is a robot, this is me. And there's two fundamentally different things. Now, this goes back to the bots that I was talking about on social media. They say things and do things that need to be done for you to have the experience that you need to have, for either you to demonstrate to you that you're on the right path, to demonstrate to you that you have strength. Even if they want to chirp, you can chirp back, because here's the thing. Most people who are doing true to God thinking and proposing ideas online are going to be met with people who are prepared and trained to, quote unquote, eviscerate you, to make you feel stupid for being a critical thinker. These are bots. These aren't real people, because real people don't need to shit on and destroy real people. And the amount of quote unquote bots that are out there, both in real life and in social media, are staggering. So some people say bots, some people say NPCs, some people say this, that, and the other thing. I'm not 100% sold on any of what they may or may not be, but I do know that as a human being, such as myself, the belief that I am a human being, let's just go with that, and my desire to understand and comprehend who I am, and move forward. If somebody comes up to me and seriously talks about an idea or something that's foreign to me, for example, I'm more fascinated with how they got there. Now, obviously, you can tell some people who are just taking the piss and that sort of thing, but there are people who are doing their best to communicate an idea or an ideology or something that I wouldn't say necessarily doesn't align with you, but isn't something that you've thought about. Again, robot birds that are all spy planes. I've always wanted to talk to somebody who has any information on this. I've yet to find somebody who's willing to come on the show. But I still do my research because I remember at one point, this is the last one I remember laughing at the building. Like, of course, they're robot birds. But then, of course, you start critically thinking yourself, right? And it's hard to critically think yourself because we've always been taught stand for something or fall for everything, which is another trap. Now, why this is a conspiracy episode is because we sit in a potential realm where if you believe the news, if you're still totally stuck in that cycle where you turn on the news and you're like, hey, fuck, I'm afraid of the tsunamis. I'm afraid of aliens. I'm afraid of asteroids. I'm afraid of Virginia Woolf. Is that right? The big bad. Who's afraid of big teeth? Anyway. You live in fear, and fear is a frequency. And when you vibrate and resonate on the fear frequency, you limit your ability. No matter what your ability is, you'll peak and plateau. So what happens? You start thinking outside the box. And you start thinking differently. At which point the box itself pushes back. At which point you run into these bots who will make fun of you for having an idea. Let's talk about flat Earth for a second. If you question flat Earth or what have you, the bots are programmed to say, well, are all the other planets flat? They're not programmed to think or engage you in a discourse that would create a healthy extrapolation based on information that we have. So when we have these ideas, these conversations, these thoughts, and when we voice them, it's hard for us to sort of get any sort of gauge or feedback or healthy feedback if you're not in what most will refer to as an echo chamber, even though it's not. We could talk about the LGBs, for example, here. They have this inclusivity thing going on right now where everyone's included except for straight white men or straight white people or what have you. And somebody could get mad at me for even saying that, because I said the word straight and white in the same sentence, and somebody could be like, hey, let's hang this person for having an opinion. I've also found too that you can't really be hung, because if you have an opinion and people want to destroy you, they're giving you good publicity, because the people that want to destroy you are certainly not your people. And what they're going to do is raise attention and awareness of who and what you're doing, and your people will find you. So again, as long as you operate with integrity, don't be afraid to make a move. I'm going to slap this button here because of what I said.
Disclaimer. If you're going to soundbite any of this podcast, you must soundbite it in its entirety for consistency and context.
And that being said, we have this we have this idea that we don't want to rock the boat. Now remember, if the boat is going to rock, it's going to be people that don't matter who are shaking it. And that sounds harsh, but we've come to a point where I remember being afraid to voice my opinion. I remember being hesitant to have a thought for what people might say, especially when I was trying to launch a business, a coaching business, and I was thinking outside the box. I was afraid, only to understand and comprehend that once you do get canceled, which I was numerous times, it's not bad. You can't appease everybody, and this world will certainly make you aware of that. And those who are preaching inclusivity and those who are preaching this, everything is the way it is, and the people that you're afraid to offend when you think outside the box and when you have opinions, these are the ones that are the biggest bots of them all. Because as I stand here right now, somebody who's lived through, I don't want to know what, a liberal mindset, a North America that's drastically changed, the idea that there are more than two genders, this illusion, and anyone can say like, sure, there's variations of all kinds, but there's two genders. And can you imagine it being weird to say that there are two genders? Now, in that same vein, I'm aware that there is more than likely a third gender, and that those who control the media want you to be drawn into that third gender, as above, so below, if that makes sense to you. The hermaphrodites, the demonic Satanism-ish beings that are both male and female, and the limitations that brings. So is there somebody trying to mold us into their own image? Sure. Is there somebody trying to create division? Sure. Somewhere along the lines, you and I stopped paying attention to our gut, to our intuition, to this, that, and the other thing. And we started eating food that took it all away, that took away our ability to really connect with who we are. Then we started believing the government that we needed them. And then we started thinking that they were our friend. Meanwhile, in Canada, they're taxing us over 60%. Then we're paying income tax. Then we're paying tax on everything we purchase. Then we're paying everything on everything like that. And at the end of the day, there's no money left for you because we even get taxed on the amount of rain that hits our roof. So when you do come to the realization that the government isn't your friend, you have other things to question. Simple things like, why is alcohol the number one poison out there? Alcohol, spirits, totally legal and totally recommended and forced down people's throats for the most part. But mushrooms, a fungus that grows in the forest, is legitimately illegal, and you can go to jail for having mushrooms. Imagine you went out into the forest and you found a bunch of psychedelic mushrooms and you're like, wow, this is amazing. So you took them home with you because you wanted to dry them out and try them. And you're just in the forest, you're just minding your own business in a random forest, randomly somewhere in a random part of the world. And in one bag, you've got shiitake mushrooms, nom, nom, nom. And in another bag, you've got penis envy mushrooms, nom, nom, nom. And you go to jail because you've got 8 pounds of penis envy and 4 pounds of shiitake. I was going to cook with that, officer. I don't know what you're saying. I don't understand why you, somebody who's very well trained in protecting humanity, is out to get me. Somebody who just picked something up off the ground. They say the laws are here to protect us, and the very same bots / Karens / Chads who are playing hacky sack in the corridor are going to say a bunch of things and do a bunch of things that are going to make you believe that you can't do it. Another prime example of that was when they said that the airports were shut down due to COVID. Don't go, don't travel, you can't, blah, blah, blah. Airports were empty. Everybody was still employed. You could get in the airport, you could fly wherever you wanted. It was just simply a story that they told people to prevent them from going places and seeing things. We believe too heavily in the systems that we think are there to help us and to save us and to keep us safe. But I'm reminded of the lion. You look at a lion who is just out on the African plains, being a lion, king of his domain. He's got no government overreach protecting him. He's just out there doing lion stuff. And then you've got a lion in the jail cell, in the zoo. He's got all of his vaccines. He's got all of the free meat he can handle. He's got everything he's ever wanted handed to him. And he's just completely and utterly disheveled. Totally disheveled. You got to ask yourself why. Why is that a thing? Anyway, I digress. There's so much that I can get into with all of this, and it can go for hours. There can be an arc on this one for a long time. I love this topic, though, because we live in frequencies. We live in resonancy. Once you start asking questions, you can keep asking deeper and bigger and stronger and more thorough questions. And we have the ability to do that. You have the ability to do that. You, the free thinker who's listening to the show right now, has the ability to do that. Also, please share this show. And apparently the other thread wasn't pulled down, which I thought it was. We're still running dual threads right now. So there are people out there that don't know that the show is putting out new episodes because the Google search that they always use to find us is still bringing us back to the old thread, which I haven't been able to have pulled down. Working on it. Loving the energy. Loving the fact that we're on YouTube now, which is fantastic. But I'm saying these things because there is so much that goes into who you are. So much that goes into what you're trying to accomplish. So much that goes into the motions, the actions, the everything that we're doing. And when we sit there and we think, we're living in fear, we're living in a position where we can't do these things, and we're afraid of what the repercussions might be, or we're afraid of this, or we're afraid of that. Or if you're not this, but there are people out there who watch the news who are afraid that an asteroid's going to come and hit us. There can't be an asteroid. There really isn't space. There's no space. Space, it doesn't make any sense. You start asking these questions and you start saying these things and people are like, oh, you must be a Trump supporter. I mean, a flat earther. Oh, no, you're a Trump supporter. Oh, no, everybody's a Trump supporter. It's like, who the fuck did you support? Biden, who couldn't form a sentence? What was it that Rob Schneider had that one bit where it's like swapping out Kamala Harris for Joe Biden for Kamala Harris was like shitting your pants and changing your shirt. It doesn't fucking solve anything. But I look at this stuff and I laugh at the jokes. I do laugh at the jokes because I don't believe in Trump. I don't believe in politics flat out. And this is where I personally get into trouble with these things because I don't believe the story. I don't believe the story that's been handed to us. I don't believe the news. I don't believe any of this shit. I mean, one of the memes I came across today was fantastic. It said, let me see here if I can dig this up. It said, no quote unquote vax for HIV after 40 years of research. No vax for cancer after more than 100 years of research. No vax for the common cold. And yet a virus that mysteriously appears and within 12 months, a vaccine is found by 4 pharma companies and within 1 week, and we all are mandated to take it. Well, how are we supposed to believe in a system that's just that simply that absurd? This is the very system that said, you must take this vaccine or you're going to lose your job. You're going to lose this. You're going to lose that. Like, what the fuck was actually in that vaccine that it was so egregious that they had to spread it out? And then, of course, what are you going to hear? You're going to hear people say when they talk about vaccines, you're going to hear people say, fucking, there's no more polio. What you won't hear them say is that polio didn't cause the pain that people think polio caused. The vaccines for polio caused the fucking pain that people think polio caused. Anyway, that's a whole other story, but something that you guys can look into if you really want to. Now, that being said, we're in a realm where if you watch the news, you live in fear. If you believe the news, you live in fear. Once you wake up to the next thing, the next phase, you're no longer living in fear. You're now living in anger because everything is bullshit. And clearly we've been manipulated. And I can't stand that. I don't care for that one iota. It blows me away, right? So now you're living in either fear, which is a vibration, or you're living in anger, which is a second vibration. This is the same thing if you're like, well, there's holes in the earth story, the globe earth story. And then you'll hear the Karens, you must be a flat earther. No, I've looked into that and there's holes there too. And when you don't retaliate with fucking ignorance, they don't really know what to say. Well, if you're not a flat earther, you're not a globe earther, what could you possibly be? And they talk to you with this dumb, stupid tone of voice. Like, you're so fucking smart. You're demonstrating your ignorance towards me, your inability to extrapolate a unique thought. And you're going to use that tone of voice and you're going to mock me like I'm some kind of asshole because you don't have the ability to think. I say this, ladies and gentlemen, because first and foremost, don't believe the conspiracies. They're just as bad as the real story. But use the real story and use the conspiracy to extrapolate a real, true, more powerful version of truth. I almost sounded like Christopher Walken when I said that last phrase. Maybe I am. Maybe, I don't know. Anything could be something. Maybe. Another thing too, I had to laugh. We're having some fun with AI. I put a song in the last episode. I'm going to put a song in this episode too. We have the distribution and we have the ability to put it out. I'm going to put it out because I want to be able to listen to this music on Spotify in my car and make it ease and make people listen to it. Not make people, but allow people the opportunity to listen to it. And it's going to be marked AI. It's definitely all AI music. But these are my lyrics. These are my riffs. These are my ideologies. This is how I would put together a song. And AI allows you to do it. And so I was super happy and super joyous that I can hear music that I've been longing to hear. And I don't have the musical ability or talent to put these things together. So it's like, do you shit on AI because it's a certain thing, or do you embrace it and have fun with it? And which is what I've done. I've embraced it. I've had fun with it. And so I shared it with a bunch of friends and they're like, hey, this is fucking amazing. This is good stuff. I really like this. I'm digging this for sure. And then he sent it to one person. And I remember sending it to him. And this guy's like, he's still constantly drunk. He's still super defensive. He's still thoroughly in the third dimension, talking about shit from 13 years ago. Like, it's really sad. But at the same time, a marker and a reminder of how far you've come. You know, there are beacons and markers all over the place in your life. These aren't good or bad people. They're just people that never got past the moment in time that you met them in. And he just laughed and mocked me saying, this is simply AI. I'm like, oh yeah, it is. And I get a kick out of that because there are just some people out there that no matter what, they won't be able to appreciate anything. These people want to drag you down as well. These people, these bots, this is the very same thing that I was talking about at the beginning of the show. We don't know who and or what is the driving force behind that. We don't have the answers for that, but we do have the ability to observe it, know in our heart of hearts and in our guts that this is something that's obscure and peculiar, and move or simply navigate around it. And I think that's fantastic. I think that's a fascinating thing. The fear, ladies and gentlemen, don't live in the fear of the third dimension. And don't live in the anger. The anger, the uncertainty, the negative talk of the fourth and fifth dimension. Right? Understand that you are the one that's in control, and you are the one that's making the choices to do the things that you need to do with the information that you have. If things aren't working out, you can get up and go. You can make like a tree and leave. There's a ton of things that you can do, and everything that happens in this world, everything that is happening to you, for you, around you, is giving you the opportunity to change your sails 24/7. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any interest in coaching or working with us, hit us up, adam@thementalmasteryalliance.com. If you have any interest in podcasting, launching your business, head over to thementalmasteryalliance.com and take a look at our services. If we can help you, we want to. If you're of the mindset where you're like, fuck, there's something more, we're ready to go, reach out to us. We are ready to help. You can hear the music now in the background. So I will say this quickly. In the infamous words of Red Green, keep your stick up.
Drifting shadows in the tide, echoes of a nameless guide. You think you're lost, but don't you see? The waves were never separate from the sea. Every step, every breath, every line we draw, it fades into the great unknown. Still you fight like you're alone. But you are the dreamer and the dream, the firelight, the in-between. You are not the thoughts inside your mind. You're the sky they drift behind. You chase a ghost, you wear a name, but neither one will stay the same. This game was never yours to win. Let go, dissolve, begin again. Every fear, every doubt, every mask you wear was never really even in there. Still you fight like you're alone. But you are the dreamer and the dream, the firelight, the in-between. You are not the thoughts inside your mind. You're the sky they drift behind. When the voices fade, nothing left but the choice you made. Tear the veil, let silence burn. You were never here to learn. You are it, you always were. Not a prisoner, not the cure. So breathe it in, breathe it deep. Let yourself go, let yourself be.
really hope you enjoyed this episode of the Mental Mastery Alliance podcast. Stay connected with us directly through the mentalmasteryalliance.com. You can also join the discussion on Instagram at instagram.com/the Mental Mastery Alliance. Let the team know you're listening by using the hashtag TMMA or tagging us at the Mental Mastery Alliance. To have your voice heard on the show, leave a voicemail or send a text to 647-338-1265. Long distance charges may apply. If you love us, leave us a review. If you hate us, you spend your time in weird ways, but also leave a review. Every review on iTunes tickles the algorithm, helping us grow. Until next time, unity over division. This concludes the most surreal portion of your day.
You got it, Pontiac.